Hey, Marshall.
What's going on, family? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I feel so blessed to be here right now. It's such a full circle moment. I know we've been talking about it for a while,
Yes.
so I'm just excited to be here, to be honest.
I'm excited to have you here. I've been following you for a minute, and I think that this is the perfect opportunity for both of us to be able to have this conversation, whether it's like at the top of the year, whether it's after your amazing gala that you had, or me just seeing you at Medium's event. Like, I feel like there's been so many things that have happened over the years to where this is like our perfect opportunity to talk.
Yeah, it culminated. I feel like it's perfect timing, and likewise, I've been watching your ascent through all the different media ranks, and just had admiration for the way you're moving in the city. So respect to you, praise to you, flowers to you, and thank you for having me.
Flowers to you, man. And you pulling up. Like, okay, let's get into it.
Absolutely.
So, what people don't realize is that just like me, you started out on the street team-esque of iHeart.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was iHeart back then.
I think it was
Was it,
iHeart.
or
I
was
think
it
it was like
Clear?
recently. I think it was just recently iHeart. But yeah, I was Cube 93, and then I became like a flex player. I was helping out at 106.1 events. They even had me on some sporting events. Like wherever they needed me, I went and showed up. I was on the streets handing out them
All
stickers.
intense.
Yeah, all intense. I'd go. I was the main flyer
Breaking
guy.
down tables.
Yeah.
Stapling flyers onto the little poles.
Doing
Whether
it
it was
all.
raining or not, because rain, sleet, or no snow,
Yeah.
we had to be there.
You have to flyer, of course. Whether it's snowing, rainy,
And
you
don't
have
let
to
it
flyer.
be a Seahawks game, and you're like, oh, I don't want to, and they're like, there's 40,000 people out here if
Yeah.
you don't get your butt here.
No, did you ever do the coin drive in the morning where it was like we had these big bins. I think it was like Bender or Jackie and Bender.
Yes!
And then you'd be 5 a.m. You'd wake up, go out
you
there,
gotta go to Starbucks with
like,
the coins.
coin bin is shaking it. Yeah, I done it all. I'm telling you, I earned it. I earned it. So
I hated it so much, but it was worth it in these
it was worth
moments.
it. It was worth it
Because
all.
now I could be like, a little bit, what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody can say that I didn't get it.
In the rain.
out the worst conditions possibly. Yeah,
I heard you've done some good.
you've at least helped me out. I know that for a fact. So I got nothing but love for iHeart because it made me grow up fast. And
Yeah.
I left school to pursue music, and I got this internship, and I really thought like, oh, I'm about to meet J. Cole, and then he's about to sign me, and then it's up. But no, I learned a lot of the
Don't work like that.
yeah, the grind that really goes into it, and how to respect the industry, and whether it's music, radio, or just media in general, there's a protocol that you have to go through, and there's so many people behind the scenes that make this whole thing move. So to start from the street patrol and ground up and to be here is such like a full circle moment. And I did everything the exact same today. I took the same bus. I walked down the same street. I walked in the exact same way, pressed the same elevator button. Looked at the mural in the lobby and took it all in, and looked at the same freight car or whatever they got.
Come on.
The
The thing that shakes the building, that's
Yeah.
right. To where when I'm doing interviews, people are like, do you feel that? I'm like, yeah, I do. It's fine.
It's
the train is,
natural.
You can see it right through that window.
Yeah.
There it goes. You're all right.
So yeah, I did everything the exact same, and it was just a walk down memory lane, and I've just been very appreciative to be where I am presently and where I was back then. It took some time, but I always envisioned this moment, and I'm happy to have this moment with you.
Do you feel like you learned anything from back then outside from just like, grind tells itself, but when you're on like street team, you don't
Yeah.
have a choice but to grind, because you're
Absolutely.
literally doing, as what I tell everyone, you're doing what nobody wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
No one wants to carry a tent.
And you got a
Nobody
smile on your
wants-
face. Yeah.
Don't dare have a frown. When
Yeah,
you're like,
don't
you
act
wanna
like this
enter to
sucks or
win these
anything.
Tickets.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I learned is how to push a brand. And, you look at it like we already talked about. You're putting flyers up. You're engaging with people. You're getting emails.
That guerrilla marketing.
If I'm going to do that for iHeart or for Cube 93 at the time, and if I don't do that for myself and my brand and Hugh, Martial Law Band, then I'm doing myself a disservice. So it really just laid the blueprint of, okay, you don't need some sort of major cosign. If you hit the ground and you can do what they did with the budget that they had to get the word out about the station, and I apply some of those same tactics to what I'm trying to do with my music and my philanthropy and whatnot, then I know I can make noise. It's just a matter of effort. And
Absolutely.
that's what it put me on to.
And I
Effort.
think a lot of people don't really realize that effort takes more than just putting your music on SoundCloud
Yeah.
or putting your music or even making it accessible these days on TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so much more than that. And that old school promo is still a necessary.
It's got to be
Whether
there.
it's getting in with your community, whether it's coming out to different radio stations, mixing, mingling, networking, like all of that is still important.
You
But a
got
lot
to do
of
it.
people don't want to do it.
Yeah, the way I looked at it is like, how do I make this dream of mine tangible and sustainable? So I'm out here looking like I need 1,000 people to give me $100 a year just to even make this thing push. And so every interaction I have is to tally that 1,000. And so if you can go out and directly influence, even have one conversation with one person per day, that means 3 years down the road, you should be able to make those connections and hit that 1,000-person mark to make this realistic. And that's the big difference that iHeart, taught me.
Absolutely. And there was one thing that I saw. It looks like martial law, at least according to Google, because Google sometimes lies, so especially if you have seen it. It started in about 2017.
Yeah, right
So
around
when
there.
did you start working at iHeart?
I was there, I think, 2014.
Mm.
I left school 2013, and basically I went to the school in Pittsburgh. It's called Carnegie Mellon, and I went there to play basketball and football. And I was really like a jock in high school. I didn't really do a lot of music. Sports was really what took me to care about school. That took me to care about life in general. And then when I got there, it was mostly an academic school. So even if you go score 20 points, have 2 interceptions or whatever, people are looking at you like, who, what,
Yeah.
And I found music. I used to just freestyle at the parties and whatnot. And once I started rapping and I started getting that energy, I'm like, man, this is the same thing as sports. Like I'm really feeling that rush. And I started my sophomore year. And then that sophomore year, I got my Cube 93 internship at iHeart. And I just decided I'm not coming back. And
Be like that.
yeah, it was parents kicked me out the house. It was the whole thing. But I never wavered once I put my flag in the ground, and because I saw how intense the coders were and the people that were in academics fully at Carnegie Mellon, how much they just poured their lives into it. And I said, if I'm gonna leave, I have to pour my life into it the same way that they are doing their craft and their passion. So those 2 years in Pittsburgh made me grow up a lot, realize what passion really looks like and pursuing your passion really looks like. Then I got here, 2014, and I was like the Van Wilder of iHeart. Like I never wanted to be a team lead or anything. I just wanted to be an intern, go to all the shows. I got a chance to do a bunch of summer jams, a bunch of bumper shoots,
Still haven't
and
been to Summer Jam.
really, we got to
No.
bring it back
I
somehow,
didn't
some
get
way.
to make it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I think my last one was Kid Ink, and then kind of went down from there. Shout out Kid Ink though.
Kidding is dope.
Yeah,
I love Kidding.
he's done well for us over here, so you can't hate.
This is true.
Yeah,
This is very true.
he came and did his thing multiple times.
I don't even want to go directly into recent times,
Mhm.
but I want to take it back to not diving deep into it because we got a lot of things going on around right now and it's depressing, but protest,
Yeah.
right? And at least that's how I found out about you. Obviously not saying that that's how you came about,
Mhm.
but that's how Besa Gordon found out about Marshall.
Word.
And within that, I saw that you guys were this band and you would be with the protesters and you would kind of change the vibe of it to where it's yeah, it's a little heavy right about, but you know what? We're going to lighten it up and we're going to make sure that you guys understand what we're trying to say, because sometimes when people are yelling and they're just, as some people deem it to be, being negative, they don't necessarily hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think they were able to hear what you guys were saying through your music.
Yeah.
Was that the point all along, or did you just have a moment of being with the protesters and being you know what, maybe this will help?
Yeah. Well, if you that was the point all along. You go back, you listen to songs like Head Nod. I say now my city on fire from the latest protest, stress be weighing down my neck. I found my inner balance and focus on my talents. I wrote that I literally wrote that 2015. It got recorded 2017. So because of like who my pops is, and I was always that one friend that was like screaming like revolution. Once I read Malcolm X's book at O'Day High School, like my sophomore
Come on,
year,
O'Day.
you feel me? It really set me down that path, and so I've always been that guy. And when I left school, I was like, I want to start a grassroots movement that's going to change the world. That was my objective. At the time, my lyrics didn't match my intentions, but I had to go through that grueling process. And then, prior to the protest, we had one Emerald City Gala underneath our belt. We had Splash Fest, which is kind of a precursor to Fremont Fridays. So we already looked at as kind of leaders in the local music scene. And then when the protest happened, I had a bunch of people just hit me up like, Marshall, we need your voice right now. We need your voice right now. We need you to say something, to do something, to put this in a frame of reference that we could understand. And I was struggling with it because it wasn't really in a frame of reference I could understand. And so I went out to the protest a couple times, and I just felt kind of that heaviness that you were talking about. And I took a day off, and Amari was on live stream with 4,000 people watching on his personal Facebook. And he had just gotten pepper sprayed, and he was screaming like, yo, this is a time for leadership. If there are leaders in Seattle, if there are people that consider yourself leaders, like, you need to physically be here. And since I had already been there, that call out, like, it viscerally hit me differently. I'm like, I need to be there, but I need to be there in the capacity that is true to me. And so we really became, exactly, we became like the hub of the mutual aid, right? You had the protest going on here, but like a block away, you had the mutual aid, like hub. And that was where we were at. We would play 3-4 songs. We would tell people, hey, stop, go take some waters in there. Go tag somebody out, because anyone who's been in a protest, they know how exhausting it is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so if you aren't taking breaks, if you aren't checking on yourself mentally, physically, or eating food and these type of things. So, that along with, everything that Julie C and team did, and,
love Julie.
The whole unit there, we really
Julie.
hi, Julie, how you doing? The theater above, they're the ones who trickled down their power all the way in 3 different extension cords to even make it possible. And we went and rented our own stage, bought our own generator with the money we had left in the band fund. And, for that time, we just completely sold out to being that like positive magnet. And a lot of people, like you said, they're not comfortable maybe screaming in the middle of a protest with a bullhorn, but they are comfortable, maybe a block away, getting what they have to say off their chest and giving people platforms. And so that's what we were that energized station and that kind of point of coordination right there, along with the bike staff, the mutual aid staff, a bunch of people that really in the medics too. The medics were huge. So we were out there really playing for we're playing for the people that we're like playing for the staff, playing for the people that come back and back, and to give them something to look forward to.
And it was also a great vibe, because sometimes I would hear you guys coming up Denny, because I live downtown, right by Whole Foods. And then, with me, like at that time, I was still doing nights on Cube. So I'm literally in my apartment because it's COVID and I can't go to work. And all I hear is, doom, 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 doom. Black Lives Matter. I was like, oh my God, they're going up the street again. And like literally, I would sometimes look out my window and I would actually see people, or I would like run outside. So it's really dope to hear some of the behind the scenes about to where you guys felt obviously you did, but you felt the same heavy energy that I felt just sitting in my apartment, to where it was like, okay, I can't be out there. I can't, be on the front line, but I can do something.
Yeah. And there's some people where it's like, that's their kick. That's their calling. They're like, yo, I want to be right next to a police officer, protected and dealing with this situation. And that's I encourage those people. And the thing about any movement has to have multiple arms, multiple branches, and every person has to fill their role and where they think their role is sustainable. And we know that music-wise, playing music for the people, we could do that for the rest of our lives. So we lended what was a sustainable ability of ours to the movement during that time. And, something that everybody can talk, but unless you were there, a part of it and seeing it, you got to talk or feel it through a screen. Being there in person, it was as intense can be. And we're bonded with a lot of people for lives as a result of that.
And then before we change the subject, this is one thing I like to ask a lot of people. What did you learn about media, news, mainstream media, being there. You
Yeah.
know, it's one thing when you see these different tragedies happen, but when you're a part of that tragedy and then you do an interview and then you see, you're like, first of all, I didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, I didn't do that. Third of all, why did you use this clip and not that
Yeah.
one? And I sometimes feel like it might actually create a different opinion or even visual on news. So did that change how you saw stations like a CNN or even a Fox News? Because
Absolutely.
they didn't necessarily portray you or anyone else that was out here correctly because they weren't here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, and that's why we made our album 12th and Pine, is to try to put a stake in the ground as where people on the street saw it. And it could be something that, you know, decades down the road, when people study this time in history in Seattle, they're able to look at our album as a firsthand account. And our first song on the album is called Real News, REEL, because that's what it felt like, a highlight reel of what they came. And that's what we said, you know, we don't need CNN or Fox News. We need truth. And
That's a good one, by the way.
Yeah,
Y'all should check it out.
That. Yeah, check this right off the top. And, you know, we said, you know, press, thanks for the coverage, but we got to change the subject. Stop putting us against each other.
Yeah.
I bet we all got more in common. There's no need to be dishonest, just to lie some more dollars in your pockets. And, you know, CNN, they kind of showed what was going on, but they picked the most sensationalized clips and really just further divided us. And then Fox News, they just had it completely wrong. They called me Chaz Marshall of Antifa, and they thought that I was a marshal of Antifa when my name is Marshall.
I don't know whose interview I was watching that you were on, but they were like, so they basically Rasamoned you. And I was like, basically? Like, I'm in my living room. I was like, yeah, that's what they did to him.
Wild.
Mind you, his name, like, what?
It's my name.
If you needed more information, you could have just asked.
Literally, you know, and so it was just a realization that, you know, national media, whether they're on the left or the right, they're going to do what increases clicks, increases revenue at the time. And to really find the truth, you got to go to mediums like Converge. And so that's why I push everybody to Converge, because if you really want the scoop, if you really want what's going on in Seattle, you have to go to people that have the whole frame of reference to actually put the story out the right way with the subtle nuances. There's so many nuances that go into what was happening out there. And if it's not somebody that's well versed, they're going to make human error.
They're going to fuck it up.
They're gonna, exactly. Easily said. Yeah, you got it right. You got it right.
And that's what a lot of people did. Now, speaking of messing things up, I was watching something recently about like Black History Month and how people wanted to be portrayed in these upcoming years. Do you worry about people only portraying Black History Month as like the negativities rather than the great things that we're still doing? Like, it's not like we're not still making history in this day.
Yeah.
Yes, the things that happened. And we should never never forget that. We should never like put it in the corner. Like, this is not a baby in the corner moment, but acknowledge it. But what about the good things that we're doing right now? Like, do you ever worry, especially after something like that, with all these companies that literally ran to it? And then when Juneteenth came, everyone was like, Juneteenth, we're going to make a Juneteenth wristband and some Juneteenth ice cream. And then all of a sudden it's silence after that. Like, do you worry about those things during Black History Month?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because especially someone like me.
By the way, it's February 1st as we record this.
We made it. Another one. Come on. I think it's tough, right? Especially someone like me. I frame history and what I've experienced in a positive manner so that I feel like I can reach the widest audience. But me as an individual, I experience highs and lows and don't always view the world through these rose-tinted glasses that I may intentionally choose to promote my passions through. So I feel like there needs to be a balance, but I also feel that us as individuals and as Black people, we have to control the narrative in our spaces how we feel most passionately. And there are going to be people that passionately feel that we need to remember the dark times. And there's people like myself that feel like we need to create some healing spaces and progressively move forward. And I think those two actions will counterbalance each other, and we're working towards progression. And so that's how I look at it. I don't feel like it's just like I have to run what I'm comfortable with, but if someone had a different opinion than me and wanted to highlight maybe the dark times, that's what they feel passionate about, and they're just as entitled to push that as I'm entitled to push bringing people together. So that's how I look at it. I'm gonna do what I do, but that doesn't mean that other people shouldn't do what they feel in their soul. And it's gonna be, we need those counterbalances.
I definitely think that we need those counterbalances because we don't want to forget. Like, I saw that they were, I don't remember who said it was, but they said they made Mansa Musa like white in the history books as of recent. And so I absolutely think it's very important for us to make sure that we talk about the things that happened in the past while also talking about the positive things that are happening in the future and the things that happened in the past. Because a lot of times I feel like when it comes to Black history, everyone's like, okay, slavery this, slavery that, boycott this, boycott that, which is those things happen and I'd be damned if we forget them. But we still have these great things where it's like, you were just recently on TEDx, you know what I mean? You've been in all these different spaces, and it's like those things should not be forgotten along with our history, but it also shouldn't be washed out by the negative history, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like the reason I'm able to even go on platforms like a TEDx is because I stand on the backs of giants and people not only in my family, but people in this region that have made so many sacrifices, and a lot of those are negative and dark times in their lives, to be able to allow me to shine. So you got to pay homage to the past, but you also can't be bogged down by it because it's our duty to progress it.
Now, let me ask you this. What does bringing love to the community look like to you within music? I remember when I grew up in the Central District on 19th and Cherry. For those that don't know, we used to have block parties. And then we would have music, we'd have food, and it was just great energy. It didn't matter if there was a band there or if there wasn't a band there, but it was just pure, amazing energy. And that's something that you always talk about bringing forth with your music and just the different things that you're cultivating for our community. So what does that look like to you if nothing goes wrong?
Yeah. Well, I think kind of one of the wildest things is like I've been through so much and been blessed to do so many things that sometimes I forget about some of the things that we've done or we continue to do. And what bringing positivity directly to the people looks like for us is breaking out our parade float, the SS Jelly Bean.
Come on.
And literally strapping and zip tying down all of our instruments and revving up our generator and driving directly through the streets of Seattle. We went all the way from Fremont to West Seattle, playing music live for the people on the back of a parade float. And it was just the wildest thing to go from where we have police chasing us, tear gassing us, to literally a police escort driving us through the city.
So how many times was the difference for that to happen?
I mean, we did it without asking any sort of permission.
Which matters.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like you did it.
We're going to just do it and deal with whatever repercussions come with it. So the way that the SS Jelly Bean came about is we had dropped 12th and Pine, and I'm like, we got to figure out a way to promote this. Everyone's like talking. I'm like, what we should do is get a parade float, and everybody in the band just laughed. They're like, ah! I'm like, why are you guys laughing? Like, I'm being serious, and it kind of just put a battery in my back, lit a fire. I'm like, nah, I think I know somebody at the Fremont Art Council. Like
what
called
the hell?
them. I'm like, yo, you got a parade float lying around? They're like, actually, I think we might. So we went, we, reupholstered it, got everything back. Shout out Matt, shout out Mercy are in the band. They, did a lot of the hard work. Ayana, the girlfriends all came together, painted it and whatnot. And we just strapped it to Matt's truck and got a new hitch and just started driving down the street playing music. And people's response was they were very thankful that it was a great way to bring music back to the people. It was a safe way to do it during that time. And I vividly remember being right there at Taco City.
Taco City is a shoot.
Yeah, it's one of the spots. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the spots.
I had a quesadilla there. I was like, I don't know enough about cheese, but this is some good cheese. This quesadilla, ma'am. Where did you get this from?
Right? And we were posted right there in that turn lane for about 45 minutes just playing music. And I remember an officer just driving by, and all of us just looking at him like, What's your next move?
What's the move, sir?
And bro just drove on.
He's like, live your life.
And that was a really special moment for all of us because there's a guy named Dr. Wonderbread, who was like an old, about like an 80-year-old man, and he actually got out of his house during COVID, was drove there and was playing, like he plays different percussion, and was playing on the Jelly Bean with us during that moment. And then he passed about like 2 months after that. That was the last time that Wonderbread and I got to play together. And that moment was just like, man, we're here standing up for something. We're bringing music directly for the people, and it's influencing this 87-year-old white man on his deathbed to come out and be a part of it. And he would rather risk going out during, COVID. During COVID, he said, I'd rather play music and be a part of this before I pass. And
That's wild.
It's that's what it's like to bring music to the people. To me, and bringing love to the people is going and directly showing up on their doorstep, whether they want it or not. You go, here it is, MOB.
Let me ask you this, though. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Fremont Fridays is coming back for 2023.
Yeah.
Does anyone need to expect anything different? Any upgrades? When can we pull up?
Yeah, so what we're trying to do, I mean, the thing is, it's been all self-funded.
Yeah.
And we've had some opportunities to self-funded, as well as the Bar LTD. Shout out my boy Jack. They're the first people to really break the model of artist and venue relationships, which is a big thing here in Seattle. And what they basically said is, if we do well, y'all will do well.
Mm-hmm.
And if we sell this amount in alcohol, then y'all will receive this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's allowed us to keep it free and to use our Jelly Bean as a stage and to use our sound system as the production. So the first 2 years, it was independent. It was us and Mediums Collective coming together with people like Riker behind the scenes, booking people.
Hi, Riker.
Hey, Riker. I'm meeting with Mike Riker later on at my spot, Jerk Shack.
I love Riker.
Yeah.
Wow, when are you guys going there?
Come on, right
wait a darn 2 minutes.
Yeah.
When does this happen? What time
right
is
after
it?
this. Yeah, right after
Riker,
this.
I might pull up on y'all. Wait a minute.
So it's like
Rasta pasta.
Yeah, come on, I'm telling you.
I need that. I'm
telling
dead
you.
serious. I might pull up with y'all.
That was the spot. You told me like, hey, what's your favorite spot? That was about to be my spot.
Okay, we need a second one now.
Taco City.
This is for 9 randoms, Marshall.
Okay, my bad.
Well, look,
Yeah.
we know that Marshall's favorite. Okay, wait. We're going to bring that back a little later.
Okay, good.
But
Yeah.
I'm pulling up.
Please do. But yeah, for Fremont Fridays, it's one of these things we're looking for, like official sponsorship. We're looking to like make that 3rd year jump.
I have a question though about sponsorships. There are some companies and some people and some brands and just whatever to where it's like, I don't want to work with this kind of company or I don't want to work with because of what it stands for, right?
Absolutely.
Like Walmart stands for certain things, etc. And so people are like, meh. Is there a certain kind of company where you're like, these are the values that I really want to partner with?
Yeah, it's a fine line, right? Because you look at somebody like Nike, for example. I would love to do a partnership with Nike, but that doesn't change the fact that I don't disagree with their manufacturing processes. Someone like, I didn't like how the NFL did Kaepernick, but now Kaepernick is working hand in hand with them to try to accomplish a bigger mission. So it really is just, I don't feel like anybody who's in a position to give $100,000 to a person like myself probably has the squeakiest clean of paths, to be honest.
Where are the lies?
So I'm going to have to evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, look at what we're capable of accomplishing with their support versus their past, and make a judgment call. And that's just the reality of the place that I'm in right now. And I would love it if some Black-owned company came in and said, Marshall, I see what you're doing. I see where you're trying to take this thing. I see how hard you've been working, and here goes the money to make it happen. If that happens and you're seeing this right now, please, I would love that. But if Target comes calling and we're gonna make a deal, because I know that given a platform where I can take this and where the people around me are prepared to take this, and that it comes to a larger point. Myself, you, and other select people of color in this region are actually prepared for the moment, are actually prepared for the spotlight. And when that time comes, those people are going to be able to handle the day in and day out rigmarole that happens and the intensity that happens, and be able to create a launch pad for generations to come. And so that's not going to happen for me without getting my hands dirty,
Yeah.
so to speak. I have to go and physically be the ones that takes the criticism, that takes the side eyes, that takes the rumors and everything, because if it's not me, who's it going to be? It might be somebody 10 years down the road. People that look like us don't sit in these seats.
Yeah.
So I got to make some hard decisions, and I got to live with them, and I got to do it with the full speed mentality. I'm not here to half step. I'm a nice guy. Everybody knows that about me, but those who really know me know how intense I really am and how intense you have to be to even be sitting here right now.
Mm-hmm.
Especially looking like how we look in this city.
That part.
You know?
Now, let me ask you this. Now, getting into community things, is that something that you grew up being part of, or did you take that on yourself?
Yeah, it's always kind of been.
Because, I know for me, it's not something that I, grew up part of. It's something kind of, I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me do this, let me do that,
That was, because, so I originally, my dad's from South Central LA. My mom's from Tucson, Arizona. They met at Lewis and Clark University in Portland and then moved up here with my dad getting in kind of the tech sphere. So I've always been raised, like my summers are in LA. I've always been raised with kind of like a South Central mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I was raised in Mill Creek. So I was one of like a few black people. And I was always the person like, hey, if someone needs to talk, Marshall, you go and talk. So I was always that person as like class projects or whatever, I was talking. Then around the third or
that in between.
Yeah, and then around the third or fourth grade, I can never forget, I played rotary style for the first time. And my pop said, look, you're going down here every week until you understand what it really is out here in this community. I ran SCAA track, and I went to O'Day High School, and that's when I really started to immerse myself in the Seattle community, to where it's like, I did this thing called Teens in Public Service, and I went and did a internship during the summer with this place called Morning Star, which is for a kindergarten, basically a kindergarten for kids in transitional housing. And that was the first time I got to see that, okay, there's a corporate entity that's sponsoring me being here, but I'm here in the trenches with mostly kids of color from my general community, and I'm directly helping these kids grow and learn. And that's the kind of blueprint that I started following. Okay, this is how you have to do it. You have to go, you have to get the money, and then you have to go and directly influence the people and teach them how to navigate the system so they can break these generational curses and these red line curses that our city has put in place, and they can do it themselves. So that's kind of how I got started in community activism in Seattle specifically. And then, iHeart and just making music, that started going hand in hand. I already had the fire lit underneath me to leave music and start a grassroots movement that made impactful change in my region and hopefully the world. And it kind of just became a perfect storm of, making music, being a public face, and using my background and my family's background to change things around here.
And then real quick, coming into this community of just being like, look, we can make things a little better. Have you been following what the students have been saying these days, especially the ones at Rainier Beach and even UW? They're not having it.
They're completely
they're
ready.
They're not having it. And I love to see it because, you look at a lot of our black leaders and community leaders from back in the day, they were like 19, 20.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they were 17, 18, but you just didn't realize that they were that young because they were so knowledgeable of what, it was honestly common sense, but I digress.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what are some of your thoughts on what these kids are doing, or even just positive words of encouragement that you might have for them to keep making sure that their voice is heard?
Yeah, I got to give a big shout out to Converge because I've been able to follow along because of the coverage that Converge has been doing on the front lines to highlight these youth. The youth is the future, and they have an ability to believe.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as we get older, we get knocked down so many times and told no so many times. We don't even dare to dream. The youth has the ability to dare to dream, and they're going to be able to be the ones to be on the front lines, and they also have the physical attributes to go out there and not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. And that was a big thing that I felt like Seattle, when we went through our big protest phase or whatever, we didn't have the voices that were talking the talk and walking the walk. these youth that are stepping up now, if they can be consistent through their teens and their 20s, they're the ones that are going to build on. I talk about how I stand on the back of giants. These people are going to stand on my shoulders and what we've been able to do and take it even further. So I got to shout out the youth in a lot of ways and just continue to dare to dream, because y'all have it. You know what's right. You intrinsically know what's right. Keep following your moral compass and just be bold. Be bold. Don't let people that are older than you tell you, oh, no, don't do it this way. Go find out for yourself. If you find out and you learn that was the wrong way, that at least you had the courage to do it.
Mm-hmm. And let your voice be heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was one thing I was talking to Gurmai about. He was like, these kids are the closest to these problems that we're talking about right now, but I never hear their solutions on TV.
Mm-hmm.
They never talk about their solutions on the news. And I'm like, that's because more people like you need to be there.
Yeah.
If all the council members and all the news anchors and everyone that pops up at 6, 7 in the morning would actually be there with these kids at 3, 4 in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
maybe more of this stuff will be on TV rather than just when, you know, the mayor or the governor pops up. And then we could actually really hear what some of our ideas are doing to these youth. Like things you thought of 4 years ago was affecting people in high school right now.
Absolutely. I got to also give a big shout out to Gurmai, because Gurmai went to Stanford with my sister. And when I went to visit my sister, I met Gurmai on a basketball court. He had a basketball tournament. And so it's just crazy how small the community is and how tight-knit it is. And to see what Gurmai is doing, it gives me confidence and belief that I could follow in his footsteps. So I just want to be that type of example to that next generation that's coming. So we just got to shake things up and do it unapologetically. And we have to do it. You know, Gurmai's got his lane. I got my lane. You got your lane. There are Black people in this city that are prepared for creating wider lanes for the youth to run through and then bust the doors down.
Absolutely. You know, you recently did your Emerald City Gala at the Crocodile. That was the first time I went to the Crocodile after it moved to like its other location.
Yeah, pretty
and
fly,
I was
huh?
like, movie theater, a stage here, a stage there, and another room there, hotels upstairs. It's like,
yeah, it's really one of the, like, it's became a cultural hub. And what was so beautiful about the Crocodile is they treated me and my ideas like they wanted me to be there and to be successful.
That's a huge thing out here.
Everything I brought up, it was, yes, how do I make it happen? We don't typically do this, but let me ask this person and let's make this happen. And I told him at the end of the night, you know, I'd never felt so at home in a Seattle venue, bringing, you know, I'm not running a typical show. I got 15 people up here, 15 people down here. Everybody's dressed crazy. I got to bring in installments. I got the LED screen and everything. And, you know, in the past, people like, bro, Marshall, no, this isn't how it's done. Instead, they said, I know this is how we typically do stuff, but we see that you are trying to bring a new vision and new life, and we're going to support you as a Black creative.
And it felt good being there.
It did. And so, yeah, we'll be back next year.
I like it. It was good. There were people that I met. There were people that I knew that I didn't know that I knew, or people that knew me that I didn't know knew me.
Yeah.
You know, there was the pictures. I got to meet your dad. I got to see you perform. I got to see all these people. And then you went downstairs. It was hip hop.
Yeah.
Upstairs, it was like rock contemporary. And then eventually everybody came together in one spot. And it was just like no weird energy, no weird competition. Everyone came together for community and fundraising.
Yeah.
And that's a space that you created.
Absolutely. And it created intentionally, you know, and it's one of those things where if I don't follow out my dreams that I've had since I was here as an intern, and I always wanted to have that mission of bringing people together, if I didn't do it, who would? And so I have to keep carrying this mantle, and I'm very comfortable with Fremont Fridays, the Emerald City Gala, and the music that we make being the contribution to this region as an example of what can happen if you choose this route. And I think it's also important to highlight, like, the space that I create, it's competitive as far as friendly competition, but it's not really like cutthroat. But it's okay to have spaces that are cutthroat too. We know this about being in any corporate high level job. It's cutthroat.
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
It's really cutthroat. So, you know, I don't feel like every person has to be on some like kumbaya, you know, hug, and that's my thing. But other people, as long as you're approaching things with the same professionalism and intensity that I'm approaching my lane with, then people can pick and choose what they prefer to be a part of. But, the Emerald City Gala is something that not only do we bring 20 different acts together, we do awards, everyone looks fly, it brings the whole city's energy up, but we filled a whole U-Haul full of donations. And on Christmas Day, we fed 723 people and clothed 723 people. That's tangible impact.
Yeah.
That's tangible impact. So if we can, replicate that, do that monthly, that's just from my organization. If we can find many other people and so many talented, especially people of color, to feel that empowered to go and do it, we can have something for the city damn near every day. And now we're actually working towards healing some of these mental health crises, these food crises, and these clothing, and just a lot of people are sad out here.
Yeah.
A lot of people are sad. And if you're happy, you need to share that with people.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's why, people like yourself are so important, because your music is about love and bringing people together and doing things like this, to where it's like, yeah, I'm doing this great concert, but there's a reason for this concert. We're not just out here partying and being like, yeah, and doing a head bop for no reason. Like, there's a reason for this. You know what I mean? There's a bigger purpose outside of ourselves for this. And I'm curious, because as far as I'm concerned, you're still in your 20s.
Yeah. Well, something like that. No, I just turned 30.
What?
Yeah, come on. I look young, got a youthful soul, but I'm going to do this thing till the wheels fall off.
How does it feel to have accomplished all this in your 30s, or before you even turned 30?
It's one of those things where it's like, for me, I didn't start music until I was pretty much 22. So a lot of people, they're blessed to like go into a musical family. Like I'm still figuring things out. You really don't hit it until you're like 10 years deep in the game. So for me, the way I look at it, and those who know my pops, it's like, this man had a stroke and still didn't stop. So he's going to go until he's 80. Me, I'm looking at it like, I have built this foundation and I still have 50 years to build off of this foundation that I have, whether it be the gala, TED Talks, the album 12th and Pine.
That TED Talk speech was good.
Hey, say I didn't go in.
It was good. If you didn't see it, hold on, y'all can't see me. Hold on, wait a minute. Like, where's my mouse? If you didn't see it, it was good.
Yeah.
Get into it. It made you feel like you were back there again, and you were like, yeah, we did have a lot of crap going on, but you know what? If you weren't here, you didn't realize that there was still a lot of love that was within our communities.
Yeah.
To where when you went up to the CHOP area, to where on TV it looked so scary. But when you would go up there, it's like, no, it's just a lot of people trying to like change some things.
Yeah, you got to see it. And of course, like, dang, we didn't know this thing was going to go on. It's not like we had legislation or something like planned out. Like, okay, there's some mistakes made without a doubt, but it's a moment in history. But I just feel proud that I stuck to my guns.
Yeah.
And that I said, once I put that stake in the ground and said, this is what I'm going to do, I said, I'm going to do this till the wheels fall off. And now this is something tangible. This is something that my family went from kicking me out the house and me having to go sleep on couches for 2 years to like my family embracing it and being proud of me and supporting me with it. This is something that all my friends and all the people around me look at with hope and belief and pride. And so for me, it's just like, I'm playing with house money. I already became what I would wake up and take a bus for and be here at 6 a.m, collect change for. I already became that. And I know that I can influence so many other people positively. And that if I am selfless with my light, that it's going to create a ripple effect for generations to come. And I'm not going nowhere for 50 plus years, God willing, that I'm alive. And if I'm not, then my energy will continue forever.
And that's on period.
If you feel I'm locked out.
Like there's no questions about that.
It's already happened. You know?
I would say, it's already a tingling.
Yeah.
We're here. If anything, it's just going to continue. And that's what makes it so dope.
Yeah.
6 randoms with Besa. I could easily go into your music, but I feel like someone like yourself, you're so much more than music. So it's more important to me to talk to you about who you are and your values and the different things that you're doing for the city and what you want to do for the city and just in general how that makes you feel. So in case you're wondering, that's why we didn't dive deep into the music things of life.
People know, go on all streaming platforms, you can listen to the music.
They already know what it is,
We're a ball of energy and an entity.
Yes.
I'm above just being music. I could do anything.
Period.
Yeah.
Acting, music
Come
video
on.
directing.
Yeah.
Just so many things.
Do
Like
it all.
you don't have to just
Whatever.
be in a booth, you know?
Give me an opportunity. I promise you I'll crush it.
And that is what should be like a highlight in this damn interview, okay? Random number 1. We already know that you like Jerk Shack. And you said one other spot earlier.
Taco City.
What is some spot that you like in Tacoma?
Oh, I got the best one for you. It's a vegan spot. Quickie 2.
Quickie 2.
Oh, it's slapping. It's like Southern Comfort vegan food. Every time I'm in Tacoma and it's open, I go there.
What's your favorite thing to order?
They have like a country fried, like it's like an imitation of like
Is it a
country
mushroom?
fried steak. Yeah, I think so. No, I think it's sentient. How do you say that?
I don't
sentient.
know.
Okay, you're not. Yeah, I'm
I
like,
just know a lot of times they do like steak with like a big mushroom these days. And
no, it's
apparently
like
it looks
like
and
more
tastes
like
just
tofu
like it.
style. I think it's called sentient or whatever.
Okay.
And it's so bomb. They also have these hush puppies there that are just ridiculous. The green slap, it's not mac and cheese, it's veganese. Mac and cheese goes crazy. And the fried chicken sandwich, they call it fried chicken, but I think it's again like tofu type vibes. And the buffalo cauliflower goes crazy. Yeah, Quickie 2 that's your spot. I promise you.
Okay.
Yeah.
One spot in the Seattle Tacoma area that you haven't performed at yet, but you want to.
They already let me in Climate Pledge. Oh.
You know they just hit 2 million people, like coming in there.
Did they? Yeah, it's pretty wild in there. Seeing yourself on that jumbotron, that'll fire you up. That'll open up the portal.
I saw
I'm like,
the
I
photo,
can do anything.
and I was like,
I can do
one
anything.
day.
I'm on the jumbotron right now.
No one can tell me jack.
Yeah, you feel me? We already rocked the
Let me get
Neptune.
myself to you.
Yeah. I felt once I was on the jumbotron, I'm like, it's hard to be humble standing on the jumbotron. It's tough out here. It was already tough out here, but it's real tough out here now.
Yeah.
They gotta let me in the Paramount. Gotta let me rock the Paramount. That's crazy energy. I saw the Weekend there. I saw 2 Chainz there. When I was working for iHeart, who was it? I think it was Fun. They actually were working an event where they were letting people into a sound check. This is before I had a band, and I saw a professional sound check for the first time working as an intern here at the Paramount Theater. And I thought,
Those are some moments,
you
aren't
know,
they?
I'm like, ooh, one day I'm gonna be right where that guy is. He had a wireless mic that was gold, and that I went and bought
Those
a
are some
gold.
moments.
Yeah, so they gotta let me in the Paramount. They gotta let me rock that. I'll shut it down, guaranteed.
What is something about old Seattle that you wish would come back this year?
Wow. I feel like people gotta just, people talk about the quote unquote Seattle freeze, and I guess since I'm not from out of town, I never felt that really.
We're just not frozen people. They're out here.
Exactly, like I guess, but I feel like today when I was walking down the street and I decided to take the bus and do everything the exact same because the sun was out. Everybody was smiling at each other.
Everybody was in such a good mood
And
today.
I just remember that.
There was a dude singing in Whole Foods.
And everybody was happy about it. They weren't looking at him like, get him out of here or anything. Yeah, I feel like that's what we got to bring back is like, you got to say what's up to people when they walk by. You see somebody, you give them the head nod. If it's a black person, head nod them. If it's a white person or whoever, smile. Hey, how you doing? Give them that energy back. Like, don't treat it like we're not in this together. I feel like Seattle lost our connectivity. Like we're little separate pockets now, and people act like we could never understand each other. At the end of the day, we're all living in a rainforest. That alone should be enough that we're like, hey, you choose to live in a rainforest, then I choose to live in a rainforest, and that alone, we're good because we could easily move.
He said, if you choose to live
It's not what we're in. We're literally in a rainforest. Like the sun today changed. I see people in shorts. It's 44 degrees out. They said, hi, how are you? I said, I'm doing great. Hallelujah. I was catching the spirit.
Oh, snap. I was like, I can leave my coat at home today.
Yeah. It couldn't really, but I just decided to.
Do you watch wrestling?
I sure do.
AEW or WWE?
I'm AEW because DEFY is the pipeline to AEW. And we know about it.
Wasn't I just saying that earlier,
It's the
JC?
pipeline.
Oh.
We got the minors right here. DEFY is the top. Minors funneling into AEW. They got the talent.
So what people don't realize is when I did my first interview with Swerve, that was
Yeah.
set up.
Shout out
I don't know
Swerve.
how that happened, but wait a minute. Hold on. You're not on my screen anymore. Pause. You're in the show. Those little things where you're like,
It's good.
okay, there you are. You're back. So what's crazy about wrestling is people don't realize that when JC linked me up with Swerve to do that interview, I was like, I haven't watched wrestling since I was like 13, if even that. And so then within doing that, I've been like, okay, more of them are going to be coming to the city. And I need to understand these storylines because they give soap opera.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So then as I'm watching them, I'm like, okay, AEW, DEFY. DEFY Wrestling was the first one that I actually saw in person. And then I ended up going to an AEW one when they were at Climate recently. And then I started watching WWE. And then when I'm scrolling through the WWE options, when you just type it in, I was like, well, what's next? So then I clicked that and I was like, so because I ended up watching Royal Rumble.
Oh, yeah.
So then,
you're indeed.
I am indeed. So then I see people from Royal Rumble on Next. And I was like, well, I see people from DEFY on AEW. So then I asked JC, I said, is AEW DEFY basically the same thing as WWE Next? But that's how invested that I got because I was like, amazing. I need to understand because it all comes together at a certain point. And if you're not watching all of you're like, oh, I'm only going to watch WWE. You're like, okay, well, why doesn't this make sense? Because you got to watch the Next or really the DEFY to where it all really makes sense because they're all like.
It's a culture. It's a culture. And for me, DEFY, that's really where I got into it is because there's a guy named Matt Farmer and Jim Perry. Those are the people that kind of help.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how you doing, Matt? Love you, brother. They really bring DEFY to the Pacific Northwest region. And one day they hit me up. They're like, I don't remember how we first got introduced. I think I just hit it because I'm the type of person that if I see something that I really rock with, I'm going to I'll do the research, find the owner of it, and DM that person directly. I'm like, yo, I'm Marshall. This is what we do in the community. I'd love to perform or whatever. They're like, I don't really see how that fits, but here's some tickets. Come see what's going on. I went and met people, and then they hit me like, yo, can you get down to Portland tomorrow? We need you to come host a DEFY. So I jumped on the Bolt bus, mobbed down to Portland and at the Rose Temple Theater, and I hosted DEFY as I had my note cards and stuff because they gave me so much information. I'm looking down.
He weighs how many pounds?
Yeah, geez. Oh no, coming to the ring. I had the voice for it. I did all right. I could have done better, but I did all right. And, that got me hooked. And I bought a Swerve shirt that night. And then to see Swerve just matriculate through the ranks, I know how much they put their body through. Yeah. I know how much sacrifice goes into it. A lot of these people, especially at the DEFY level, they might meet that day and plan out how they're going to execute such a crazy physical feat. And it just made me respect them so much and see so many parallels in the entertainment industry of what I go through, what they go through, but then they add in that physical component to it, which is part of performance as well. But I'm not jumping off the top rope and backflipping and doing all the wild stuff Swerve is doing. But yeah, DEFY, if you've never been to DEFY and you're watching this in the PNW, make sure you find your way. They do it in Tacoma. They do it at Washington Hall. They do it in
and they're back next month. I mean, we're at February 1st right now, but they're
11th and March 11th.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna be at both of them if I can, if the basketball schedule lines up. Yeah.
Matt, we're pulling up.
Yeah, come on, Matt. You already know. They gonna take.
He
care
knows
of
that
us.
we're coming.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. He got us on the list
he
already.
Knew that.
Yeah. And I just love how intense the fans are and how great.
At first, I was
amazing.
like, oh my God.
Didn't you feel at home though by the end of it?
I was like,
yeah, you can scream anything. I brought my homie Lex Scope from Scope Screenings and whatnot.
Lex!
I took Lex to his first one, and by the end of it, he was just part of it. Yeah.
All of a sudden, everyone is like, I don't know, everyone's angry by the end, but happy.
And the funniest conversations are gonna be when you go to the bathroom and you just ask people what's going on and stuff. They're like, man, I can't believe that Swerve did this, man. I knew he was. Yeah, it's just so intense, and they love it so much, and it's that enthusiasm is contagious. And I think it goes back to what we're trying to rebuild here in Seattle is to just have some enthusiasm for life and day-to-day life.
Yeah.
DEFY provides that for so many people in our community.
It's electric.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I felt it, and I was like, I don't know what I'm coming into here to. I got dressed, and I was like, I feel like this is a wrestling-esque outfit. It worked photo-wise. I had on some high shorts and some thigh highs and a big old coat. It all worked out. But by the time I left here, I was like, how long has this been going on?
Right.
And y'all didn't call me?
We're trying to get DEFY. It's a little sneaky, we're trying to get DEFY at Fremont Fridays.
Speaking of Fremont Fridays, I'm coming.
Come on.
It's down the street.
It's free. It's for the people.
It's down the street.
It's nothing like it. We primarily focus on highlighting,
Well, you should get Swerve to perform.
It's already in the works.
Okay,
He's
we'll
gonna be
less.
there. He's gonna be there. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of these things where eventually I really want to be I want to be on the road about 5-6 months out the year. Right now I'm at the point where it's like 2 months out the year. And then I spend about 3 months in LA.
Because you were in London.
Yeah, London, Munich, Italy.
You're on the move.
Yeah, and that's where I find my motivation and my strength is through travels.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like I can get a worldly perspective wide enough to bring back something of value to the region nowadays. Before, and that's kind of something that's wild as you work your way up through the ranks. And, your initial goal is like, I just want to be regionally recognized. So I'm at every open mic. I'm at every local event. And then as you ascend to that spot, now your goals and your day-to-day habits change. And for the people around you that still have the same habits and the same day-to-day, they look at you a little bit differently, but you also build connections with the people who now have an international perspective.
Yeah.
And that has been kind of the hardest transition for me is, having to accept the fact that what my goals used to be and my habits used to be aren't the same. I've grown and changed as a human being, and now my goals and my habits are such that I want to become an internationally touring success story. And my habits have to mimic those same aspirations. And so I can't do or be in the places that I used to be at with the same people I used to be at, because now I want to be over here. And I had to forgive myself for wanting that for myself. And that's a hard thing to do. But I am very proud of the contributions of Fremont Friday and Emerald City Gala and the Jelly Bean and stuff that we'll continue to do around here. But I got real high aspirations, and they're international.
Absolutely. And we deserve to be international.
Yeah. And come on now. Worked hard enough, went to enough change collection
I carried
stuff.
enough tents.
Yeah, exactly.
The things are
tent's
heavy.
heavy as hell.
Have you carried a tent at Wild Waves on your shoulder up to where the hawk, whatever, the eagle, whatever that hawk thing is? That thing is heavy, okay?
Stepping.
With someone that's shorter than you?
Come on.
Oh,
There's nothing worse than the uneven tent carry.
nobody understands.
Then you got to go back for the speakers.
Understands the trouble I've dealt. Some crap,
Yeah.
okay?
Carrying Super Sam's DJ stuff.
I
and
never had to do
Vegas,
that. Actually, I did
Vegas
have to
DJ
do that
stuff
one time.
heavy.
I will say that they were very helpful only because I'm a girl, but I still had to carry a table and a tent at some point.
Got it.
It don't feel good.
Got
Real quick, last two questions. Number one is, oh my God, where did it go? All right, well, I'm just
I
gonna
see
do
you got a
something random.
Bible's worth of notes. I'm appreciative that you can't.
Get out my notes,
So, I mean,
Marshall.
see, I was like, dang, she prepared as hell.
As
Okay.
I should be.
Yeah, respect.
One misconception of living in Seattle.
People think that it rains all the time, which it kind of does. But in every day that rains, if you wake up early enough, you're going to find a pocket. And if you do something with that pocket, your life will be exponentially better. So you have to get on your app. You have to see when it stops raining and then get outside and do something in the wilderness, and you'll be a lot happier and you won't be as depressed.
One misconception about being a musician from Seattle.
People think that we're like paid. We're like the 11th biggest market. The people out here are not giving us big checks, even if we pack out the spot. And it is an absolute struggle. Most musicians that I know have 3 or 4 other jobs to make this thing possible. I feel so blessed that I'm able to do music and coach basketball, and those are the 2 things that I do. But I will show up at Bloodworks Northwest and host a concert. I will show up any and everywhere that they got to check for me, because I want to make this thing happen. So it's one thing to have fame, but fame, local fame, it does not translate to financial success in this city. And you have to break the barrier to a national and international level in major cities to really be able to keep this thing sustainable for artists to come. So if there are artists that you love and you support and they're regional right now, put some money in their pocket, because likelihood is they're probably living paycheck to paycheck.
I absolutely agree with that. And I think people automatically assume that because we have so much tech up here. And they're like, there's so much money in Seattle.
It's not coming this way.
It's not coming to me.
It's not coming this way. I've done about 2-3 Amazon gigs like we were talking about earlier, and the paycheck was cool. But unless I'm doing those every single week, this money's got to come from somewhere. And that, that kind of leads me to, like, you got to be innovative out here. One of the main things that we're creating, and I would encourage any artist to create, is not only your LLC, we're creating a nonprofit so that we can go after these grants. We can create, what we're trying to do is create a nonprofit called Music for Everyone. So we would bring music into spaces that aren't traditionally marketed to. So whether it be like senior homes or, those that are living with disabilities, we'll go and play music directly for them. And then we can receive grants for those and create specific positions and roles that actually has some, an actual stipend and a salary. And then just maybe we'd be able to do music for the next 5 years.
Come on, salary.
So you have to get creative, you have to get innovative, and you have to look at it like a business for even these corporations and this tech money to even be in a conversation for what's going on.
I absolutely agree. And I think that that's something that people don't understand about Seattle. There's so many different layers to this city to where it's like it's way more than just Amazon. Hell, they're not even reopening up their office in downtown Seattle. So that's how much y'all really don't know about it here. Okay. Before I get you out of here, is there anything that you want to tell your fans, your supporters, your family?
I just want to say thank you for allowing this full circle moment to occur. And that you guys all have poured so much life into me, you included, that I feel an obligation to share this light and to lock in and progress. And I'm committed to progressing over this next decade. I feel like I've finished my first phase of this entertainment industry, and I'm prepared and capable of showing y'all a next gear. And I'm ready to take that step into the next gear. The people around me are ready to take that next step. And you're only going to see a higher level of intensity and a brighter, more intense light coming from me.
I love it, and we can only get brighter. It's only February, so summertime is coming.
Oh, yeah.
We got some time to brighten up around here.
It's the dungeon days right now.
We got some time. Everyone's going to be real pale, including my brown self, okay? It happens.